Hi, guys. Welcome back. Have you ever had a moment where you wish you could go back in time and change something? Today, we're going to visit with a YouTuber that goes by the name of Sizzle Serve Yum, and today's story is a real heartbreaker. I hope you enjoy.
My father-in-law, earlier this year, he passed away. God bless him. He was such an awesome man. And he was saying, should I go on this diet? And I was like, I don't know. I was like, this diet sounds a little weird. Now, how I found out about this diet is because his pastor had came to the house one day and was telling him about the diet and telling him to give it a try. And I was a little apprehensive, guys, because I never heard anything about the carnivore diet other than you just eat meat. And I was like, how is this healthy? I was like, how is this heart healthy, right? I was like, I'm gonna do some research. And then, his condition got worse, and unfortunately, he passed away, so I kind of put that on the shelf and everything. It really, really got me thinking. I was like, this diet, I'm going to give it a try and see. But I thought to myself how irresponsible it would be of me to not take advantage of a resource that is easily and readily available to me. So I came across this YouTube channel, and this guy was talking about how he had congestive heart failure. And he reversed it, and it made me think about my father-in-law, because I'm like, I wish, sorry. I wish that I could have encouraged him to try this. Maybe, just maybe, he would, be here today, but it is what it is. God allows what he does. So I thought to myself, how many people sit at home trying to figure out, I want to lose weight, but I don't know how, right? And so I said, you know what, I'm going to give the carnivore diet a try. So I opened up this YouTube video of this guy. He talks about how he had congestive heart failure, and he was able to reverse the conditions, guys. He even had an irregular heartbeat and reversed that too. And I thought, man, that's crazy. And I started coming across crazy testimonies of people that couldn't walk, came out of wheelchairs. I was getting testimonies of people that were vegan and they were always sick. Couldn't figure out why they were sick. They'd go to the doctor. They'd had all these ailments. People that were like type 2 diabetics, and they were extremely sick, and they were able to reverse it because they had gone on a carnivore diet.
So I've been doing this channel now for about 4.5 months, right? And I'll be honest, at the beginning when I heard about the carnivore diet and stuff, it just didn't really seem appealing to me. It kind of reminded me of what I heard about the Atkins diet, which I had done in the late 90s, early 2000s with my ex-wife, right? But you got to say that if there's anything that's close to a miracle diet, and what I mean by miracle is it cures you like Jesus cures you, guys, it's the carnivore diet. I've heard the same stories that she has. And when you get to the point where you have 1,001 anecdotal stories from people just like you and me that have cured everything from dermatitis on their skin to bald patches on their head, right? There's got to be something to that.
After this whole thing that happened with my father-in-law, I went ahead and I did the dive. I did the I'm gonna rip the band-aid off kind of thing and just start the diet. So I quit caffeine, because I noticed that when I went on diets, caffeine always made me gain weight. I don't understand why. And then I also cut out all dairy, and then I also cut out sugar, even the processed sugar. That's gonna make it even worse, right? So I just pulled the band-aid off of that, and I stopped eating that. And I decided to do carnivore full time. And after I passed the end of the third week, it felt like my cloudy skies just went away. Felt like the sky opened up and the sun was finally shining on me. And I got immense amount of energy. And when I would wake up in the morning, I noticed I had a ton of energy. I noticed that when I would get up to go walk, even if I was slightly tired, my energy would pop back up. I didn't need to have a candy bar in the morning to get that blood sugar up. I did not need to have 2 cups of coffee before starting my day. I just needed to get up and move. So I've been weighing myself, and here is the results. Remember, I started off at 290.4 or 8, one of those, and now I am at 263.4. True reason of doing this, guys, is not just for me to be healthy, but what if there's somebody out there that also wants to be healthy too and needs the support?
All right, I totally love it. This is awesome. Whenever people lose significant amounts of weight, it makes me excited, and you can see the excitement in her face. And I also love that she has a love for her father-in-law. So many times we hear bad stuff about mother-in-laws and father-in-laws. It's good to hear a good story every now and then. Let's take a look at some of her comments that she got. This is from April, enjoying life. Virtual hugs. I'm so sorry for your loss. I'm so glad I found your channel because I've just started this journey 1 day ago. So thank you for sharing, and I'll be following your journey. I'm going to change. April, that's awesome news. Guys, that's why whenever you do have good things going for you, share tips and stuff. It might help somebody tremendously. Katrina Kie, 4075. Her comment is, sorry to hear about your father-in-law. I'm sure he is very proud of you and supporting you in spirit. You are doing great. I've been doing so much research on this carnivore diet, still not able to take the full plunge, but I am working toward it. I've started to do it for 4 days a week to see how it goes, but sugar has been totally eliminated, which is awesome. From last week, I noticed relief in my arthritis after the first 4 days. Even my physio said I had better movement as the inflammation had gone down. So thank you for your tips. Good luck, everyone. It's a nice community. And that's another thing I have to say about the carnivores. There's a huge community and a lot of support. So if you've been contemplating doing a carnivore diet, Google or YouTube some different carnivore people. And listen, before you run to your fridge to go grab some bologna out of there and start the carnivore diet, why don't you go get your shoes? Let's go for a walk.
Good morning, Venters. Question: what is Jeopardy and who is Alex Trebek? Answer: boop, boop, boop. The latest line of stamps from the U.S. Postal Service. So Alex Trebek is kind of a national hero here in the States, and I believe he's originally from Canada. So he's kind of a hero of North America, so to speak. And he's one of our famous game show hosts. The only person I can think of off the top of my head who's maybe a more famous game show host would be like Bob Barker. And I think both Alex and Bob both passed away within the last, 3 years or so. But Alex Trebek and Jeopardy were one of those shows that we constantly had on the TV growing up. And it always amazed me at how fast and how smart human beings were that made it to that show. And I always thought that was an amazing show. If you or one of your family members absolutely loved Alex or absolutely loved the show and tuned in regularly, let me know. So who would be on the Mount Rushmore of game show hosts? I think you'd have to put Pat Sajak. I think you would have to put Bob Barker, like I said, and then probably Alex. And then who would be the fourth person? I'm going to go with somebody that probably really doesn't deserve to be up there, but one of my favorite game shows ever was actually Love Connection with Chuck Woolery. And I don't know if you guys remember, but he made one catchphrase super famous. He would always say, "We'll be back in 2 and 2." And I guess that was how long commercials lasted back in the day. And I just always remember that show would show two people going on a blind date, but each contestant would actually go on 3 blind dates. And then there was a lot of audience interaction because they would ask the audience, who do you think would make the best date for this person, right? And sometimes their dates that they would go on were so funny and so entertaining. And every now and then you'd have a really weird show where they would be like, I don't like this person. And yet at the end, they would still agree to go on a second date. It was the craziest thing. But Chuck Woolery really, really made the show work. He had that perfect personality. But anyway, it's kind of cool to know that the post office is coming out with a book of stamps. So here's my question to you. I've never been a stamp collector, but I think there's a piece of me that's going to spend an extra, X amount of dollars to buy an extra book, because I actually do use stamps every once in a while to mail out a doctor's bill or something, right? And so I do use stamps every once in a while still. So I think I'm going to buy an extra booklet, just set it in my sock drawer, and then let's see if maybe that thing becomes worth something in 10, 15, or 20 years. If any of you guys at home are thinking about doing that same thing, let me know. You guys, I don't know if you agree or not, but every 4 years, not only do we have an election for the presidency, but every 4 years we also have around the world the Olympics, the Summer Olympics. And we actually have Olympics every 2 years, because every 2 years, based on a 4-year cycle, we have the Winter Olympics, right? And it's interesting because today I woke up and found out that not only have the Olympics snuck up on me again, but apparently they're starting the opening ceremonies this weekend in Paris, France, right? And I woke up today to find out that apparently the high-speed rail lines have been kind of knocked offline, not by hackers, but by old-school arsonists. Apparently, there's 3 routes where they have boxes up that enable the train lines to communicate. And keep in mind, the high-speed rails can be extremely dangerous if you have people messing with them, obviously. So apparently today, there are just a ton of Olympic tourists that can't get to their destination via the high-speed rail. Now, they have a couple slower rails that are moving, but here's my question for you. If you were a tourist in Paris right now, getting ready for the Olympics, you already know that there's obviously some presence there of some not so good characters if they've taken down the high-speed rail. If you were going into the individual games, right? Because usually the way they have the Olympics set up, you've got your basketball over here, you've got your swimming over here, you've got your wrestling over here, right? All these different events. If you were present, what do you think you'd be thinking with regards to potential, bad things happening, right? You could have somebody that goes in and, tries to cause damage with people. You could have situations where more people try cyber attacks this weekend for the opening, for the start of the opening game of the games. Would you be, if you were there, would you be thinking, oh my God, keep my head on a swivel, look for anything out of the ordinary? You start to see bomb sniffing dogs everywhere. There's a high police presence, which is what I've been told. And all of a sudden you've got a situation where it's like, I don't know if I would enjoy the Olympics as much as I would in other years where maybe you didn't have to worry about this. Here's our neighbor that likes to sweep. Good morning. Wouldn't that be funny if you found out she was from Canada and she was a curling champion? So she just loves sweeping to keeping up her curling game. Speaking of the Olympics, that would be a winter Olympic sport, right? Curling. Curling's one of those sports or one of those games where it's like, how the heck did this become an actual game? You can almost picture curling as something where somebody threw something down the ice, And then some guy that just happened to have a broom started doing some goofy thing to see how far the thing could travel down the ice, right? I mean, it literally looks like that game occurred due to a mistake. And to this day, when I watch it, and it's funny, I never watch it for super long, but I never turn it off. I always keep it on for at least a minute or two and kind of look at the different curling techniques. And if you ever watch the game for an extended period of time, which I have, there's obviously a strategy there. And there's obviously world powers to curling. But again, it looks like a bizarre game that started by chance. And I'm sure it did back in the day, right? I'm sure it actually started kind of how I'm describing. They had somebody throw something across the ice, and then they had some fool that just happened to have a broom on him, and he started sweeping the ice to make a pathway for this object. What a goofy game. But you want to know something? I bet you there's people in the cold parts of the country and in Canada and Sweden and Russia and all those places, I bet there's people that would want to beat me up for saying what a goofy game, because they probably love that sport, right? But I don't know, every time I look at it, do you guys think the same thing I do? How the hell is this a sport? Yeah. But, you know, it's one of those pastimes. People do seem to love it, and I'll tell you what, every Winter Olympics, somebody wins a gold medal in team curling, and they tend to be just as excited as people that win it in ice skating or figure skating or volleyball or whatever the Olympic sport might be. So out of the winter and the summer Olympics, the one that I personally enjoy the most is the Summer Olympics. I feel like it has a lot more games to enjoy, games that as an Arizonan, you know, you grow up playing. One of the sports that I think is fascinating that we don't really watch on a professional level, at least not here in the States, but I feel like we should because it's so entertaining, is probably that of volleyball. I love watching Brazilian and American volleyball, and every now and then you have a situation where the two meet up in the Olympics. And I don't really stay on top of it to know which teams are the best in the world, but I know traditionally speaking, the US and the Brazilians have always had pretty competitive teams when it comes to volleyball. And I believe in Brazil, along with jiu-jitsu, I believe volleyball is a super popular sport in Brazil. There's something just really athletic about the game, and when you see certain teams block a spike or certain teams apply a spike perfectly on the offensive, it looks like a very powerful, very extremely fun game. And so did I grow up playing volleyball? No, not really. We had a couple sand volleyball courts, but because, you know, I'm not necessarily the best leaper in the world, it was one of those things where we would just go down and kind of play a fun game. But every time I've seen beach volleyball, which I believe is another game in the Olympics, with a complete other skill set, because you've got 2-on-2 games going there rather than the traditional full team like you'd get on indoor volleyball. But I love watching the outdoor volleyball too. If you ever watch the outdoor volleyball game, are you like me, where it amazes you that these players can be running around in sand, which is already designed to make you slow as heck, right? But these players are able to run around in sand, somehow keep that volley going back and forth, and somehow have the energy to play it for hours straight. I find it amazing. As a matter of fact, if you take a look at the Olympian's body, whether it's male or female or whatever, and it doesn't even really matter the sport, no matter what the sport is, man, their body was just built for that sport. Like seriously, have you guys ever watched like water polo? Oh my God, I don't know how people play that game. It looks so tiring. And I believe I heard once upon a time that like it's up there with wrestling when it comes to the absolute most intense workout you can imagine. Have you guys heard that too? So water polo is a game where it's kind of like a mix of wrestling, handball, and soccer, right? But your legs aren't being used to kick the ball. They're being used to propel you through the water because you're floating in the water the whole time. Meanwhile, you're wrestling with people where if you look at them, they're built like NFL linebackers, right? And it's one of those games where, you know, it's really rough and you got to be rugged, and you would think, oh, the U.S. is going to dominate a game like this with all of our wrestlers and football players, right? But the reality is, I think teams in Europe dominate water polo. Anyway, let's get off the Olympics. I just thought it was interesting that they have this rail system problem. And the reason I say that is because I just feel like if you're a terrorist, I feel like it's easier to get stuff done in Europe than it would be in America. Now, I might be completely naive about that, and it's not like I've been that happy with the American FBI and stuff recently, but it still does strike me that it seems like if you're a terrorist, it would be a little easier to do things in Europe. Because my whole life I've always been told that, you know, bombs are going off in Europe and terrorist attacks and the IRL and all these different things that happen in England and then across, you know, the waterway there into the actual European continent. What are your guys' thoughts? Maybe share down below. Would you be able to enjoy your Olympic Games despite the idea that there's this over-looming risk? Or do you think it would be something that would affect you as well? I'm telling you, if I were there and I had all these plans, because you know that's what happened. People made plans based on this high-speed rail. If I knew people were trying to mess with it, it would really kind of shake me up. Because I don't know if you guys have ever seen when these rail systems crash, or when they fall off the tracks, or when something weird with them happens. It's almost always catastrophic. And I don't really think going to the Olympics is something worth your life. But at the same time, I hope that the people have resiliency, and I hope they still find a way to enjoy their Olympics, because man, that would be a travesty if all of a sudden all the games were, you know, where the stadiums were empty and stuff. But you want to know something? I think we can all agree we're heading towards a future where sometime over the next year or two, we're probably going to start to see some wars break out. And I don't see why the Olympic Games would be immune from that. So again, if you're just waking up, you're just tuning in, take a look at the news. It looks like some arsonists have shut down the high-speed rails, and there's still options with taxis and smaller speed rails, but apparently those things are going to make stuff really uncomfortable and really difficult for the tourists there to enjoy the games. On another note, if you find it interesting that Alex Trebek has his own stamp collection, what are your thoughts on that? Do you agree with me that it was well deserved? Apparently he was the show's host since 1984, and I believe his last show that he did was literally just in 2021 or 2020, just real recently. Alex Trebek, as you know, was the one that developed cancer. Here's a guy that looks like 2 cents, but I don't think it is 2 cents. Well, it looks like 2 cents has looks almost like he has a twin brother. And even the dog looks like a twin. Do you guys remember Superman had the Bizarro character? No, Jesse, who's Bizarro? Well, Bob, Superman, as you guys know, is like a perfect being. He's not a human being, right? Because he comes from a different planet or whatever. But he had an alter ego, or he had some sort of character named Bizarro. Are you guys familiar with Bizarro? And Bizarro looked like Superman, but he looked like an odd version of Superman. Imagine if Superman had a twin that was kind of like a piece of poop, like a piece of shit twin, that instead of good things, he did bad things. That was Bizarro. If you guys remember Bizarro, let me know. But anyway, that might be the twin version of 2 cents in another universe. Because he looked the same way, kind of keeled over with a dog that kind of looks like a wolf. Because let's be honest, If there's one dog that kind of looks like a dark colored wolf, it's probably the German Shepherd. You know, it's funny, whenever you see German Shepherds up close, especially like a male German Shepherd, you always notice, my goodness, this is a big dog. And even their snout looks kind of big, right? But if you were to see a German Shepherd next to one of these giant wolves, like the Canadian wolf or whatever, man, the wolf just makes all dogs look very, very small. I mean, unless it's a Great Dane. But Great Danes kind of have like that, look, you know, kind of silly, goofy look. Could you imagine if your Great Dane was up against a pack of wolves? Oh my God. The only thing you could do is push your Great Dane towards the wolves and then run. You know, there's some people that love their animals, especially dogs, so much that they would probably throw themselves at the wolves in hope that their dog could get away. And I don't know if that's good or bad. Is it good that human beings are capable of such love for a creature like a dog? Yes. But a lot of times, if you ask those same human beings that love dogs, and you can answer this because you know you love dogs, a lot of times those same human beings will literally pick the lives of animals over other human beings. In other words, if you had a choice, this person here is going to perish or your dog, there's some legitimate people that would pick their dog to live, right? And I know you're thinking, well, my dog's a part of my family. But how can you pick an animal that's only going to live for 10 or 12 years? Because let's be honest, the bigger dogs, they don't live to be 20 like the lap dogs do. Bigger dogs tend to live, what, 10 to 12 years? So how are you going to pick your animal that's already 7 or 8 years old anyway over a human being? But you want to know something? I don't blame you. God, there's some human beings out there that are so indifferent, that are so uncaring, that are so mean, cruel, and heartless, that sometimes you can't help but think, you know what, I'd rather keep my dog. I'd rather keep Rufus. I think that was funny about the person that we watched the other day that was trans. Obviously born a woman, becoming a man, goes by the name Rufus, looked like a man. So, I mean, if anybody's going to make this argument, I suppose it would be Rufus, right? An argument that, you know, she deserved to be in the body that she chose. But Rufus is a name that I associate with canines, with dogs. Do you agree with me? Do you think Rufus is a good name for a man? Or do you think it's more of a...
Teaching a class.
How are you?
Great, how are you?
Good. I'm not teaching a class. I got a YouTube channel where I'm just trying to convince people to walk. Because not enough people walk, you know, so trying to get people to walk more. Anyway, enjoy your walk. Wow, maybe he is a little like 2 cents. But you want to know something? When you're out and about and you're walking and other people are walking too, I believe what it shows is that we do have a common thread. That's why I was telling you guys the other day that I have a feeling that 2 cents is a venter. Does that mean he's watching the YouTube channel? Probably not, right? But at the same time, I have a feeling the things that I talk about and how I enjoy my walk, I have a feeling he enjoys his walk as well, you know? But you want to know something interesting? If you ever watched that show or that movie, God, what was the movie with Jamie Foxx? They cloned Tyrone. Now, I watched the first hour or so of that movie, and I ended up turning it off because I just thought it was boring. But when you meet people like 2 cents, and then all of a sudden you meet the person like the guy behind me, you can't help but think, you know what? There really are archetypes. And it really does make the world seem like it's a simulation. Like in one world, you have 2 cents, and then on an alternative timeline in the multiverse, you have the guy behind me and his German Shepherd. But what I mean by archetypes is the guy behind me with his dog, he's literally like 2 cents and his dog, but just in another multiverse. Jesse, You're in the same universe and the same planet, and I bet this guy walks right next to 2 Cents and his dog all the time. Yeah, but here's the thing. They're both the same character. They both have the ability to yell and get people's attention just to say their 2 cents, just to throw their comment in there, because that's exactly what that guy did. The difference is, and what if that is 2 cents? Do you guys think that's the same guy? Well, either way, he's coming along. He said hello and good morning and enjoy your walk. Anyway, what I mean by archetypes is they're literally the same damn person. Do you guys see what I'm saying? Isn't that kind of crazy? That's why I believe we're in a simulation. Because whether 2 cents exists or not, they're the same character. I apologize if you're walking looking for health tips. Let's go over the rules. Here at Walk Talk Vent, I like to push the idea of walking every single day. When you walk every single day, you start to meet characters in your neighborhood. You start to see certain characters like this house that we're about to walk by, where, you know, it's kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. You also start to meet characters like Pretty Girl, the dog, and LeBeau, the red venter, right? And Brett, the guy that walks his dogs all the time. We haven't seen Brett in a while, but the last couple times we did see him, he let us know that he got a new position at a job where it kind of affected his walk. And that's what scares me about you venters. There's going to be a time in the future where you do get another position or another job. At least a lot of you will. And what happens when you have that situation is you can very easily ditch out on your walk. What do you mean? Well, imagine you work 9 to 5, right? Or 8 to 5. And so imagine you get up early like I had suggested and you start walking a half hour before your job starts. Well, that's great. But what if all of a sudden you land a new job and all of a sudden, instead of working 8 to 5, what if you're working 6 a.m. until 3 p.m., you know? All of a sudden you have to start talking to yourself into the idea of maybe working into the, or walking after work rather than before. Or maybe you do what Stacy's doing. I don't know if you remember Stacy, but she's another one of our walkers. She told me that she's been waking up at 3 in the morning to walk. Now, I think that's great temperature-wise if you're trying to beat the heat, but I feel like if you're walking at 3 in the morning and you see anybody out and about, it naturally makes them suspect. So if you agree with Stacy and you like the idea of walking at 3 in the morning, just be careful. And again, if you guys think that that is 2 cents, let me know. But you want to know something interesting? If it is 2 cents, then we know flat out he loves dogs, because he usually walks with a scraggly looking dog, and today he's walking with a German Shepherd. But again, I don't know if they're cosmic twins or not. Jesse, get on a different subject. Yes, let's get on a different subject. I'm really excited that we're in the last week of July. July is that month where I've always seen it as the warmest, hottest month of the year. August is that month where we start to move into fall. Fall for Arizonans is almost as miserable as the summer, because it's still going to get up in the 106s, 107s. And I'm sure here during the month of August, we'll still see a handful of 110s. But the point is, July is about to be over. Thank goodness. July is the toughest month for me. August is one of those that, again, it only lowers the temperatures by a degree or two. But hey, I'll take it, you know. The other day it was 109 and I was outside and I kept thinking, God, this feels nice compared to 115. So if we can start getting some more 105s and 106s, great, I'll take it. So anyway, today there's that mystery. Do you think that was actually 2 cent, or do you agree with me that that's an archetype of 2 cent? Either way, why do I bring up the archetypes? Guys, you're going to realize that all of us come from about 8 or 10 archetypes, right? There's the big bear type person. There's the skinny olive oil type person, which reminds me, did you guys hear, what's her name, Duvall? There's an actress, her last name is Duvall. I think it's Shelley Duvall. She played Olive Oil And she's another actress that recently passed away, along with Bob Newhart. So we had Shannon Doherty, Bob Newhart, this Duvall lady, again, I think it's Shelley Duvall. We almost lost Trump, right? And there was another movie star that we did lose, Richard Simmons. Maybe not a movie star, but probably the closest thing that we've ever had in our life to a movie star without being an actual movie star. Probably Richard Simmons. But anyway, when was the last time you remember this many famous people dying in just a couple of days? We've had a lot of people that we grew up with, because one of my early memories was watching Popeye with another actor that's no longer with us, Robin Williams. You know, when I was growing up, I heard nothing but good about Robin Williams. But over the last decade or so, through Joe Rogan, I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but Robin Williams was a stand-up comedian before he was Mork from Mork and Mindy. And he was also a great actor, right? But he would actually go around doing his comedy routines, and he would steal jokes from other comedians. So while you love Robin Williams and I love Robin Williams, in the comedy world, a lot of people did not like Robin Williams. He would literally steal people's jokes right before they were supposed to go on stage and say them. Could you imagine if you had your routine all ready to go, and all of a sudden Robin Williams heard your routine in a couple of comedy gigs before that, and he ended up stealing that routine and doing it right before you go up on stage? Oh my God, that would infuriate any comic. I love stand-up comedy. I don't know about you guys, but oh my God, I could watch Dave Chappelle non-stop. Oh my God, I love Dave Chappelle. If you're a Dave Chappelle fan, let me know. And then, do you guys remember the Rednecks of Comedy, or whatever they were called, with Jeff Foxworthy and, you know, the different comedians that did kind of the country route? I forget their names. Larry the Cable Guy, Jeff Foxworthy, Ron White. Oh my God. My two favorite comedians of all time are probably Dave Chappelle and Ron White. Oh my God. If you're ever feeling down and sad, one of the great little hacks to get rid of that sadness, besides taking a walk, turn on some comedians. Put some old vintage Dave Chappelle on and just laugh your ass away. I have been in so many bad or sad moods and had it wiped away by just a handful of Dave Chappelle jokes. So if you're ever having a bad day, take a walk. And if even your walk doesn't get you into a better mood, turn on some stand-up comedy. We have an endless supply thanks to YouTube. And make yourself laugh. I believe in these hacks, these little tricks that get us on the right pathway and the right mood. Stay positive. And, you know, even though we're pretty much done with our workout again today, we've been walking together for 120 some odd straight days. Just remember, extra credit is the key. So don't stop just because I am. You don't have to work today. Today's that weird day that you requested off. Why don't you make today the day that you stop by your house, get a quick sip of water, and then go right back out and do another half hour, and then tell me about the extra credit that you've been doing down in the comments below. Remember, it's hot for you, but it's summer for everybody in the Northern Hemisphere, so you might as well get outside, start walking, baby step it, do what you gotta do, and have a beautiful day. We'll talk to you later.